Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or as we like to say here at Shady Acres Woodshop, howdy. Today we have a piece of rhododendron. This comes to us from our friend Dave at Calmwood Creations. This piece is roughly 9 inches by 8 inches by about 3 inches. So I'll be right back as soon as I get this ready to mount up on the lathe. Well, my camera was off. If you've missed everything up to this point, I sincerely apologize. So I've rounded up these corners a little bit, and now I'm just flattening off the bottom. So embarrassing. And we're still turning at 600 RPM with the square point carbide tool. I'm going to start working on putting a tenon on the bottom of this. I was going to remove all of this and just make a flat bottom, but maybe I will incorporate some of this into the bowl. So I'm just going to flatten this off now, and I'll be doing that with my 5/8 inch bowl gouge. We'll mark out for the tenon. I'm going to switch to a 3/8 inch bowl gouge so I can get in there tighter. Okay, so maybe this will be our base, and that'll be our tenon. Back to the 5/8 inch bowl gouge. I'm going to go sharpen up. You'll seldom see me fill a crack, but I'm going to fill this one. I'm just going to take some of the wood chips out of this and shove them in there along with some CA and see what happens with that. Okay, we'll just let that set up for a bit. Okay, time for sanding. I'm starting the sanding with 80 grit, and I'm turning the lathe at 350 in reverse. I'll alternate between forward and reverse, and I'll bring you back when it's time to put some finish on here. See you in a bit. Well, this certainly doesn't appear to be what I set out to make, but it's what I made. I'm afraid it's kind of ugly. Hey, it's bound to happen, right? Oh, I'm putting on Howard feeding wax. Haven't used this for a while. And there's the reason. I don't know if you can see that crack. That's the reason I don't usually fill them, because they end up looking like, duh, a filled crack. I should have just cleaned it out let it be a crack and move along. So I did sand up through 400 grit, and I'm going to let this set on here for about 20 minutes. Come back out and buff it up, and then it'll be time to turn it around and start working on the inside and see what kind of mess we can make out of that. Stand by for more fun. Well, let's see if we can get this bark and this nice live natural edge to save this little ugly piece. We're going to be turning at 1300 RPM, half-inch standard grind bowl gouge, mask and face shield on. I just wanted to see what kind of wall thickness we want. Not that thick. We'll probably come out to the inside edge of this, about right here. I'm probably not more than a 1/4 inch thick in the bottom, so we'll scrape. And then we'll sand. I'm going to start the sanding with my Sandoflex, sanding just the bark. Then I'll switch to my 2-inch disc sander and sand the interior. And I'll show you both of those as soon as I get my mask on. So I'll do a little bit more of that, of course. Then with the lathe spinning forward at about 390. Now the Sandoflex is 180 grit, and that's as fine as I normally go on bark. This is 80 grit. And I'll work up through 400 grit, and I'll bring you back when it's time to put some finish on. Well, I feel a little better about this piece now, and I'll tell you why. First of all, this is not bad. The top part, the inside, is not bad. It was the outside that I wasn't liking. But as a wood turner, about the worst thing you can have in a turning is torn grain. And I thought I had that on the outside because when I apply the finish, some of it turned up darker, and that's a good clue about torn grain. The finish will go on darker in those areas. And that's what I thought I had on the outside, but I couldn't feel it. And you can feel torn grain. It's rough. It may not be super rough because you've sanded it, but it's rough, and you can tell. And it's unsightly, and it's disappointing, and it's shameful, and I hate it. I've been known to bring a piece back out here that I've had in the house for a week or two, that when I pick it up, it just angers me. So I bring it out, remount it, resand it, return it, and then resand it and refinish it. So I thought I had torn grain on the outside, but again, like I said, you can't feel it. Well, it turns out that torn grain that I thought I had is this darker grain in here. It's more pronounced on the inside than it is on the outside. It's not torn grain, it's just the grain of the wood. It's these darker areas. So I feel way better about that. And I'm not going to fill this crack from the inside, and I'll show you why on the outside again. To me, this looks a whole lot better than a crack that you filled that ends up looking like a filled crack. I mean, I don't understand the point. It doesn't look good. I just don't get it. Anyway, so it's time to put the finish on. And again, that finish that I'm using is Howard Feed and Wax. That's what I used on the outside, and that's what I'm using on the inside. And this leaves such a smooth feel to it. I can't really describe it. It's just silky smooth. Just really like it. And you can feel the wood through the finish. And that's one of my favorite parts. Oh yeah, see, that's looking better already. Yay! And this just has to set up for about 20 minutes. And then I'll buff it up. And then it'll be time to turn it around and take that tenon off. And that's when I'll bring you back. See you in a bit. I've mounted a block of wood up in my chuck. It's got a non-slip surface on it. I'm just going to place the bowl over that and bring up my tailstock. I still have the center hole there for reference. So we'll just apply a little pressure, bring up the tool rest. We'll spin it up. I'm going to hold my thumbnail here against the edge of the tenon. Make sure it's hitting equally all the way around, and it is. So I'm just going to take a 3/8 inch standard grind bowl gouge and commence to removing that tenon. And we'll just check the quality of our work, and it looks pretty good. Now I'm going to switch to a 3/8 inch swept back bowl gouge so that I can get in there a little tighter, and I'm going to slow the speed down to about 400 RPM and just keep working it away. And that's pretty small, so now I'm going to turn the speed down to about 200 RPM, and I'm going to apply the bevel of the gouge against the bottom of the bowl. Right hand on the gouge, left hand on the switch, and when the little nub stops turning, we'll know we're through. Or disintegrates, as sometimes happens. Then I'll just take it over here to the workbench, sand it up, sign it, finish it, and I'll be right back. Well, here it is, one ugly little bowl in the books. Nothing too special about it. There's that awful crack. Only awful because I filled it. Boy, I wish I hadn't have. Looks like a filled crack. The piece is actually flawless now that I know. There's no torn grain, no tool marks. And there's the bottom all finished up. Ended up being about 5 3/4 inch diameter, 2 3/4 inches tall. Thank you, Dave from Calmwood Creations, for sending this along for all to enjoy. If you like this video, thumbs up please, I'd sure appreciate it. If you're a subscriber, thank you very kindly, I truly appreciate that. If you're not a subscriber, you might consider becoming one. I put out regular videos about one a week, and I'd like to keep in touch. An easy way to subscribe is just click my picture you see there near the end of the video. Your comments are always welcome, and I read all of them. So for now, this is Phil, Shady Acres Woodshop, signing off.